Goody Camp Blood, ain't you? It's got a death curse.
Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Friday the 13th is about a group of young people who are all camp counselors helping a man named Steve Christie fix up the long dormant and derelict Camp Crystal Lake before it reopens for the summer. Previous attempts to reopen the camp has always ended in catastrophe, and this time it's no different as the unsuspecting counselors fall victim to the murderous psychopath named Mrs. Pamela Voorhees, who is hell-bent on ensuring that Camp Crystal Lake never reopens, and those that do trespass will pay in blood.
Look what you did to him!
The original Friday the 13th is the granddaddy of modern slashers. Now, many people bestow that honor onto Halloween. It's really Friday the 13th that sent the horror world slasher crazy, also spawning a franchise that dominated the 1980s and became a pop cultural phenomenon.
You're doomed.
And when it comes to Friday the 13th, there are a total of 11 kills, 10 people, and 1 snake. And 9 of those kills were perpetrated by Jason's loving mother, Pamela. Now at this point, I think we all know the rules. If a kill is off screen, it's at the bottom of this list, and any killing of an animal is also at the bottom of this list. And now that we're caught up with that, let's dive into this ranking.
We ain't gonna stand for no weirdness out here.
Coming in at number 10 is the snake that's killed by Bill. Now this poor little guy is just chilling in Alice's cabin, and when she spots him, she freaks out and calls for Bill to kill it.
What do I do?
Kill it.
Now I think it's implied that Mrs. Voorhees let the snake loose in the cabin in hopes to maybe, it could bite and poison one of the counselors, but that's neither confirmed nor denied, so I don't know. But my main issue here is that this is a legit animal kill. That was a real snake that they decided to hack apart on screen. You're telling me that you have the greatest effects artist at your disposal in Tom Savini, and he couldn't mock up a simple fake snake for a quick insert? I don't know what the laws were back then for this sort of thing, but it's always kind of pissed me off.
Well, at least we know what's for dinner.
Ha 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 ha, fuck you. Coming in at number 9 is the killing of Brenda. So it's getting late and Brenda decides to turn in with her Little House on the Prairie nightgown and a good book. But before she can get started, she hears someone repeatedly calling for help outside. And when she goes to investigate and find the person, she unknowingly gets lured all the way out into the middle of the archery range where something happens. What that is exactly, we don't know. And the next time we see her, her body is getting thrown through a window to jump scare Alice. Now I do like the drawn out setup for this kill. Even if Brenda sorta wanders out like a dumbass, I can give her a little bit of a pass because maybe she thinks it's one of the other counselors or maybe a random passerby who's trekking through the woods, who knows. But at some point you'd have to have some awareness and be a little suspicious of what's going on, thinking something here's not right. But out of the human kills, it's last because it's pretty ambiguous what happened to her. I mean, she gets lured out into the middle of the archery range, so you'd expect that she'd be turned into a human pincushion, right? But here it looks like she is maybe beaten to death? I mean, she's dead either way, so it doesn't matter, but it goes down as an undefined kill. Coming in at number 8 is the killing of Ned.
Can I help you?
So Ned here is just screwing around by himself and trying not to perv on Jack and Marcy because he's just a gigolo and he ain't got nobody. But while he's on his little evening stroll lakeside, he notices a shadowy individual duck inside one of the cabins, and when he goes inside to investigate, he gets got. Not that we actually see him get got. However, a short while later, when Jack and Marcy use the cabin to get out of the storm, we get the reveal of Ned's body and throat just hanging out. Now, even though the setup to this off-screen kill wasn't as drawn out as Brenda's was, it's here at 8 because at least it's a defined kill. I mean, we see Ned with a slit throat. Plus, Ned is one of those characters that kinda starts to get annoying with all the dumb shit he does for attention. Plus, he almost could have killed Brenda earlier on in the movie at the archery range, and all for a laugh. So yeah, it really doesn't bother me seeing him get taken out.
Oh, Nettie! Oh,
Emergency generator.
Well, there's no crazy people around here, right?
I hate you.
Coming in at number 7 is the killing of Bill. It's late at night and the POV camera decides to cut the power off to the camp. So Bill, through either the power of telepathy or bad voiceover ADR, tells Alice he's gonna go check on the generator, which he does, and wouldn't you know it, he doesn't come back. So when Alice wakes up and sees that Bill isn't around, she goes to check the generator to see if he's still there. But no dice. I mean, all she finds is his rain poncho, so when she goes to leave, sweet Jesus! And one to the dick, too. Now, out of all the off-screen kills, this one is the best as it's the most brutal. I mean, Pamela just straight up Robin Hoods his ass, even shooting him in the dick for good measure. And on top of that, he also gets his throat cut? But one thing I could never wrap my head around was how Pamela got his body to stay pinned to the door like that. Like, did she strap him up after the fact? Or did he just jump up and Pam shot all those arrows at once like a damn Looney Tunes cartoon? I need to know how she did that. I need answers.
Message for you, son.
Coming in at number 6 is the killing of Steve Christie.
Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
So this whole time that his counselors have been getting stalked and slaughtered at camp, Steve has just been hanging out in town, presumably at this diner the entire time, where this waitress is trying her hardest to get this mustached maven into her mothballed sack. But Steve decides he's had too much fun for one evening and heads back to the camp. But on his way, his Jeep breaks down, so he gets a lift from a passing police officer. But that Uber ride is cut short as the officer has to respond to a call, so Steve has to hoof it the rest of the way. And just as he gets to the camp, he gets blinded by somebody shining a flashlight all into his eyes and shit. And then he either gets stabbed in the torso or he trusts a fart. I'll let you decide. So now that we're finally onto the on-screen kills, this one is arguably the weakest, because we don't actually see it, or like some of the others, we just don't see the immediate aftermath. Now his body does turn up later during the dead body showcase, so we know he was definitely stabbed, so it probably would have been nice to see that earlier, but you know, that's just little nitpicky here and there, it doesn't hurt the film at all. But yeah, Steve Christie, you lovable creep, you're here at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is the double kill of Barry and Claudet.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing around.
At the very beginning of this movie, we are introduced to Barry and Claudet, and a small group of camp counselors singing some of the whitest songs known to man. But these two lovebirds have had enough of their little hippie jam circle, and decide to sneak off to have a little private session of their own. But unbeknownst to them, a POV creeper is lurking around Camp Crystal Lake, who just happens upon the couple, and cockblocks Barry from getting past first base. But as Barry tries to explain himself, the POV killer stabs Barry in his secret stash of ketchup, and Claudet does her not so best to escape and then is killed by a freeze frame. Now, I always assumed that these two counselors in particular were the ones who allowed Jason to drown, and that's why they were the first to feel Pamela's wrath. But seeing as how this little bit takes place a full year after Jason's drowning, I don't think that's the case, but that's something that could be up for debate. But as a kill itself, this was alright, nothing crazy, and definitely a good way to start off your slasher flick by setting up what to expect from this film going forward in terms of mood and atmosphere. But since one kill is just a standard shot to the stomach, and the other kill is off screen after a freeze frame, it sits here at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the killing of Annie.
Hey, wasn't that the road up for Camp Crystal Lake back there?
At the beginning of this movie, we are introduced to Annie, who is hitchhiking her way to Crystal Lake. Now, we are led to assume that Annie is going to be the main character, since she is the first person we tag along with after the opening credits. But in a swerve, she ends up hitchhiking a ride with the killer, aka Mrs. Voorhees. And after Pamela decides to speed past the entrance to the camp, Annie realizes that shit ain't right and yeets herself out of the Jeep, and then tries to make a break for it by running into the forest aimlessly. But that plan works about as well as you would expect it to, so when Pamela eventually catches up to Annie, she cuts Annie's throat without even so much of a fight or a struggle. Now, I do like most of the kids here in the original, but I've always felt the worst for Annie, and I think that's because she seemed to truly want to do what she could for the children. Like, she really wanted to work for this camp and work with kids. And you would think on some level that Pamela might have given her a pass, but it was game over once she said she was going to Crystal Lake. She said Pamela's trigger word, and now she's gotta die. Now, this is the first kill we get on screen to actually get a special effect so we can see the kill itself. And the effect still looks pretty good, even still by today's standards. But the lack of any attempt to fight back annoys me. Like, do something, for fuck's sake, anything but just standing there and taking it.
Tom Kid.
Coming in at number 3 is the killing of Marcy.
Must be my imagination.
After sexy time with Kevin Bacon, Marcy needs to take care of some personal business, so she heads off to the restroom. And while doing a pretty awful impression of Katharine Hepburn in the bathroom mirror, she hears some commotion coming from the shower area, and thinking it's either Jack or Ned screwing around with her, she goes to check it out. But what she discovers is that it's neither Ned nor Jack, it's Mrs. Voorhees. And being a graduate of the Annie School of Self-Defense, Marcy just cries and allows Pamela to deposit that axe right into her face.
In the face! In the face!
Now, points to this kill for the awesome special effects by Tom Savini, and the fact that it happens on screen, which is why this rates as high as it does. But, like I said before, the lack of trying to defend yourself, especially here, just looks silly. But an axe to the face is a little better than just a standard throat cutting, in my opinion.
But it was just my imagination running away with me.
Coming in at number 2 is the killing of Jack. As I alluded to prior, Jack and Marcy duck into a cabin to have themselves a bang session under Ned's bleeding carcass. And when they are finished, Marcy leaves to go get killed, and Jack decides now is the perfect time for a little jaybreak. But that's when old buzz killer Pamela grabs Jack from under the bed and shoves an arrow straight through his neck. Now, it really was a tough decision to put this here at number 2 because I think this is Savini's crowning achievement for this movie. Everything about this kill is damn near perfect. Like, as an audience member, you are sitting there waiting for something to happen, then that little drop of blood hits Jack on the forehead, and you think, okay, now he's gonna discover Ned, and nope, Pamela cuts off any chance of that happening with a kill that catches you completely off guard. And aside from a little discoloration between Kevin Bacon and the gimmicked neck and torso, it's a kill that still holds up, and the lead up to it is pitch perfect. However, I feel like there is just one kill that is a notch better.
I think you got the point.
So that means coming in at number 1 is the killing of Pamela Voorhees. So by this point in the movie, Alice is the lone survivor, and Pamela Voorhees, who suddenly shows up now, is revealed to be the killer. And as we all know, Mrs. Voorhees snapped a long time ago over her negligent drowning of her son Jason, and she has been cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs ever since. And after her Bond villain-esque monologue, she chases Alice and slaps the shit out of her across every square inch of the camp.
I'm going slap, slap, happy, slappity, slapping you, teaching you a lesson.
But Alice gets a well-placed shot with a frying pan across Pam's dome. But when she thinks it's all over, Mrs. Voorhees returns and the two get in a catfight perfectly suited for Glow. But when Alice gets free from Pamela's submission maneuver, she runs and picks up Mrs. Voorhees' machete, which Pamela now instantly regrets bringing with her. And in one clean stroke, Alice decapitates Pamela, whose hands suddenly turn into Tom Savini's before she goes all dead.
With bare hands!
Now, this might be the most cliche kill to put at the top of this list, but I don't care, honestly. Betsy Palmer plays this role so exquisitely well that she does lull you into a false sense of security with her charm and her warmth, before obviously showing her true colors and snapping into kill mode. And for Alice here, it's the perfect moment for her character, who up to this point has been pretty demure, and here she finally takes charge and is like, enough of this shit, I'm ending it now. Plus, she's the only person in the whole damn movie to actually fight back. Plus, on top of that, she scores an awesome head decapitation to boot. But yeah, for me, it is the best kill of Friday the 13th, and it is number 1. Well, there you have it. That was my ranking of these kills in this movie based off of nothing but my own personal preference. And please, if you did like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, well, go make one of your own and GTFO.